All right, it's your guys' favorite video of every week. We are bringing you trade targets, whether it's trade for
That's right,
or
baby.
trade aways. We're going to bring bringing 8 total players to talk about today.
Yep.
Badake and I are going to go back and forth. Do us a favor, drop a like. Tell us in the comments who you're trading for, who you're trading away.
Come on, baby.
And I have to do this. We have something called the Fantasy Roulette Showdown, which is something that Badake and I stream every single week. This week's punishment, if you lost, you had to put a sticky note on your forehead that says, I suck at fantasy football. And I have to wear this for all the content. So here we are.
Here we are.
Shout out to Devontae Adams for dropping that last pass. If you only had control, I wouldn't be here doing this right now. It would be Badake, but
It would be.
all right.
Fantasy football.
I'm gonna give you my first take. I was so annoyed at that drop. All right. I'm gonna give you my first trade for, okay?
Right.
Which is DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins currently is ranked as the wide receiver 34 rest of season ECR. ECR is a bunch of experts who rank, rest of season rankings.
Yeah.
And I personally feel like that's a huge buy low at this point. It's important to be on the same page, though, you and I, right? Let's connect for a second. It's important to be on the same page. Let's note that last year we saw a lot of down trends for DeAndre Hopkins in his career.
Agreed.
Targets, receptions, yards, everything, it was trending downwards. It wasn't looking all that good. However, I believe his current market value has corrected. And as of right now, he currently is a value in redraft leagues. Why? Well, let's talk about that. Firstly, out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
Injuries to the end of his 2021 season and the suspension this year means that Hopkins has played in just 2 games over the last 347 days. It's been so long since we've seen DeAndre Hopkins on the field.
That's right.
And actually active in a game. It's felt like it's been forever. But let's remember what D-Hop was able to do last year. In 2021, weeks 1 to 7, which was before his injury, okay? He got injured in week 8. He was the wide receiver 12 in total points. He was the wide receiver 17 in points per game. And he was tied for second in total touchdowns amongst wide receivers. He was on track, again, weeks 1 to 7, to go for 71 catches on 109 targets for 972 yards and 14 touchdowns, which would have been equivalent to the wide receiver 12.
Right.
Now, when we say on track, we're aware that, we can't take account for everything that happened last year, but those were the numbers that he was averaging. If he had an entire season, that's what he would have averaged over 17 games. That's what it would have looked like potentially. And I don't think I need to waste any time as far as telling you why DeAndre Hopkins is a capable wide receiver. I think historically we've been able to see that. You guys probably want to know about Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown was a huge my guy for me coming into this year.
Correct.
Loved him. I have him in a lot of leagues, and it's looking really good right now. However, I personally believe that these two players are going to complement each other. I don't believe they're going to hurt each other, and I have some good reasons as to why I believe so. Firstly, D-Hop is your big body contested catch wide receiver. Hollywood is not that, okay? He's the field stretcher. He's taking the Christian Kirk role, but times 2. And defenses are going to really struggle to guard these guys on a consistent basis. We could really see Kyler Murray and this Cardinals offense hit another level. And I want to tell you why I don't think that a target share between these guys will be a problem. Let's talk about my expectations for D-Hop and his market value. I don't think D-Hop's going to be a wide receiver 1. Let's talk about expectations for the rest of the season. I more view him as a wide receiver 15 to 20, kind of in that category. Someone that you can start as your wide receiver 2 from here on out, right?
Okay.
So again, I don't view him as solidified wide receiver 1 rest of the season. If you look at the current targets per game for the Cardinals, Hollywood is at 11. Ertz is the second guy there at 8.2. And Rondo at 6.5. And then it kind of, goes down there with Greg Dortch and AJ Green. So you might look at this target share, what it currently looks like, and ask yourself, where exactly does DeAndre Hopkins fit in here? Where could he fit in? It's important to keep in mind that Kyler Murray this year and the way this offense operates is not the same exact way it did last year. Kyler Murray's pass attempts per game is up from last year. Last year he averaged 34 a game. Now he's averaging 43 attempts per game. On average, he is throwing the ball 9 more times per game. In fact, this team as a whole has gone from this 17th, has thrown the ball the 17th most times per game last year to this year, they throw the ball the second most times amongst any team in the NFL. So there's only one more team in the NFL that's throwing the ball more right now than Kyler Murray. This is likely a byproduct of this Arizona defense, which, as we've talked about before, not very good. Lost some people in free agency, and they didn't really do much to replace them, which sucks for the Cardinals defense and the Cardinals as a team, but for fantasy purposes, we love that kind of stuff. So here's how I see the rest of the season kind of panning out. I still think Hollywood Brown's going to be the number one target, but I think D-Hop is set to get around 7.5 targets per game. That feels really comfortable, and that's a higher number than what he had last year. But again, last year, this team wasn't throwing anywhere near the same rate that they are this year. And if D-Hop was able to put up those kind of numbers that he did last year at 6.4 targets per game, and now we're in an offense that's even more pass happy, what could he do rest of season? So I think D-Hop's a great buy low right now. I think market hasn't adjusted for him. And I'm looking at ECR right now. These are conversation starters. You don't have to do all these one-for-one trade values, but I'm trying to help you start conversations. Give me DeAndre Hopkins over Rashad Bateman, Curtis Samuel, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Thomas, Brandon Cooks, Gabe Davis, DJ Moore, Antonio Gibson, Damian Harris, and TJ Hawkinson. Just some names for you to start conversations with. But if you need wide receivers, I think D-Hop is probably one of the best buy lows right now in the market before he comes back after his suspension here next week. So
yeah, it makes sense. By the way, remember early in the offseason, we were saying, well, when the schedule came out, they had a bye week in week 7. That's changed, by the way.
Yeah, I think I thought about that as well, but
so
I think
random.
What we were saying was more he's gonna miss 7 weeks total because of his bye week as well. I don't think they actually had the bye. I just think we were looking at the schedule and we were saying, well, okay, he misses 6 games, but then also the bye week comes up in week 13, is it?
Yeah, I could have been confused. Anyway. I thought the bye week was week 7, but either way, all good. So love the take.
Yeah.
My first trade for target is DeAndre Swift, and it's coming to the point where you got to take advantage, just like guys that are out of sight, out of mind, guys that have bye weeks, guys that have been injured that should be coming back after their bye week. For example, DeAndre Swift, right? And I just want to preface this as well. If you can get a DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams in some sort of package, I think I really want to make that move just in case. If you get Swift and Jamal in a package, but I'll probably tell you that a little bit more later. But right now, like I said, DeAndre Swift is my trade for target. And this is, I think, it's specifically for teams that are above 500. If you're, 5-0, 4-1, whatever the case may be, I think if you're under 500 and you're kind of struggling, I think this may not be the right move. But if you want to take that risk, sure, do what you want with your team. But the people that either have Swift, hopefully in your league, the guy that has Swift, the fantasy owner that has Swift, is struggling right now and needs a win. And DeAndre Swift on a bye week is not helping their team. So if you can go and take advantage to get a DeAndre Swift, then I think it would be an amazing opportunity for you. Obviously, in week 1 through 2, the small sample size that we have, he was the RB2, right? In the first 2 weeks. Let me remind you, in 2021, last year, weeks 1 to 8, before his injury, Swift was the RB4. He was leading the league in receptions at the time. Every single year we come in and we say DeAndre Swift has top 3 potential. He can finish as the RB1. And we're still saying that here today. I am still saying that here today, that's possible. And the reason why that's still possible is because his injury is earlier. And it sounds crazy. I'm not saying that he can't get injured again. I'm saying I'm glad that this is out the way. It happened early. He missed 2 to 3 weeks and he has his bye week. And now he comes back on a healthy term, and hopefully he can, string up a good second half of the season without missing time. Once again, that's not guaranteed, but the thought process is, everyone's going to get banged up, in the season. Everyone's going to get dings and whatever the case may be. So if he can come back and string along a good 10 games, I still believe DeAndre Swift could finish as a top 5, top 3 running back. Okay, so guys that I would be trading to acquire DeAndre Swift, right? Guys in this area, rest of the season, ECR, that you do as a package or 1-for-1, whatever the case may be. Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Jonathan Taylor in the package, Jalen Waddle with some interesting things that are happening in 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 Miami right now with Tua. You know, I know a lot of people are shaky right now. So if you need running back help and you're scared of Tua not coming back and playing with Teddy, whatever the case may be, why not? And also Michael Pittman. I think if I need a running back, I'm happy to trade Michael Pittman for DeAndre Swift. And obviously, you can once again you can package that with small other pieces to get the Jamal Williams. You know, maybe you have I don't know, a small person that you can get. That's what and package and throw into that deal. So if you can get DeAndre Swift right now, I think it will be a fantastic, fantastic opportunity.
Yeah, I like the DeAndre Swift take. I mean, you have to assume that offense is going to be able to figure it out after their bye week with Amon-Ra coming back and probably
And
Swift
they're the
as well.
Yeah, and then the highest scoring offense in the NFL right now, or was. I mean, last week
was terrible.
Last
so
week
we'll
was
see.
terrible.
We'll have to see where that
But
stands now.
if that can continue, then I think we all know DeAndre Swift is going to find the end zone often, hopefully.
All right, my next trade for is Travis Etienne. And before you turn off the video, give me a second to explain myself. This wasn't my guy this year. Yes, in Dynasty specifically, I have been in love with Travis Etienne for quite some time. And a disclaimer, this isn't an anti-James Robinson take. I think we can't help but see what James Robinson has done in his recovery from this Achilles and be impressed. Like, you have to be impressed with what he has done.
Yep.
However, I personally don't believe there is a gap between these players as fantasy assets. A lot of people probably view James Robinson as a more valuable guy. I don't see a gap between them, and I'll explain that in a second. But firstly, let's talk about why there's a buy low window. Look, maybe there isn't a buy low window. Like I've said in multiple videos previously, not every trade has to be buy low. I brought you guys Breece Hall in week 2 as someone you should buy right after he had his first touchdown. I brought you Olave in week 3. And again, like, just certain trends that I like to follow that I think that there could be still buy opportunities that people might not be so confident in these players yet. But Etienne, despite having probably his best game ever as a professional, I think that we can agree, over 100 total yards. The conversation on Twitter and in the fantasy community is still mostly negative around Travis Etienne. And I think a lot of people are viewing this as a sell high situation. And I even was reading PFF's article. They do like a weekly article after fantasy football. And went to Etienne's part of their article. I just wanted to see, like, you know, they must be excited just like me. I watched that game. He looked incredible. Yeah. Their first thing that they said was, this is a sell high opportunity for Travis Etienne. So I imagine that there's going to be a lot of people out there this week, PFF, others, who are going to say sell high on Travis Etienne.
Right.
Especially if like PFF posted it. Let's talk about Travis Etienne. Firstly, why do people hate him so much, and why is he such an easy name to just kind of bash? Well, it's pretty simple. When a player has a lot of preseason hype, and at the beginning of the season they don't live up to that, owners are going to be pissed off, and it's understandable. It actually is understandable. Etienne drafted as a running back 18. At the time of recording this, he is the RB 42. That might have changed with, you know, a couple games that have happened recently.
Right.
So right now, Etienne owners who drafted him in rounds 3 to 4 only really have 1 week that they can point to and be relatively even somewhat happy with, which was week 5, what just happened, where he had over 14 fantasy points. And again, just like PFF, love their work. Shout out to PFF. I imagine there's going to be a lot of articles out there where people are telling you to sell high on Etienne, but I'm going to tell you why I believe you should buy. And also, with the articles coming about in, you know, the hate online, that gives you an opportunity to buy. Etienne is not someone that people are like, so like, just, I have to hold on. I'm sorry. This player is not movable. That's not Etienne in the fantasy community. Secondly, let's talk about James Robinson. He's not game script proof. He's not. And he has shown some inefficiencies. First, let's talk about the game script part that I said. It's been my belief, which I said on the video last week, but I don't know if you remember. Mm-hmm. It's been my belief for quite some time that he was favored in weeks 2 to 3 because of the way the games played out. So the Jags in weeks 2 and 3 played the Colts, which they shut out, and they played the Chargers, and they dominated the Chargers.
Right.
So both of those were games that they were dominating. They were up the entire time, and I believe I have some solid information to back my claims that I've been saying, which is that weeks 2 to 3, James Robinson was favored because of those blowout games. So let's have a look at snaps so far this year. James Robinson versus Travis Etienne. In week 1, Etienne had more snaps. Let's skip to week 4. Etienne had more snaps. Week 5, Etienne had more snaps. Again, that week 2 to 3, where the Jags were dominating the Colts and the Chargers, you see James Robinson dominating the snap share. Why? What could that be? How about rushing attempts? Weeks 1, 4, and 5. The rushing attempts relatively close except for week 1. But in weeks 2 to 3, it's completely unbalanced and swinging heavily in James Robinson's favor.
Right.
Again, weeks 2 to 3, the matchup versus the Colts and the Chargers. And then if we look at targets, I just wanted to throw this in there. It's been relatively close, but Etienne has around 7 more targets on the year. So again, outside of weeks 2 and 3, Travis Etienne is leading the backfield in snaps. And the difference in weeks 2 to 3, like in snap share, is vast. In those 2 weeks, it's in favor of James Robinson 40 to 22. Why was that so big for those 2 weeks? Again, the Jags outscored the Colts and the Chargers combined 62 to 10. 2 teams that no one anticipated them dominating like that. So that's why I've been saying for a while, I feel like James Robinson's usage is connected to those games where they were absolutely dominating. In games where they've been competitive or trying to come back, James Robinson hasn't been the favorite back. And I don't know where you guys stand on this. I'm not saying we throw out James Robinson's usage in those games, but I'm saying, can we get on the same page at least and agree that those were outlier games and that the Jags are probably going to be in much closer game scripts moving forward? I mean, if you don't agree, fair enough, but that's where I'm coming from. And lastly, I talked about James Robinson with some of his inefficiencies. James Robinson has 3 rushing touchdowns this year. And again, I don't want to take those away from him, but if you take just those 3 runs away, he would be averaging 2.7 yards per carry. As someone who is forcing myself to watch every single Jags game, every single snap, I still believe with the eye test that Travis Etienne is the better running back right now. And again, they're both going to play roles, Thunder versus Lightning, but James Robinson, outside of 3 runs this year, has been really inefficient. And again, not taking anything away from him, but I think it's important to keep these kind of things in mind. Not you want to follow trends that are reliable, that feel like they can be repeated. Last thing I'll say is, will Doug Peterson walk the walk? Because after Etienne's performance in week 5, where he looked incredible, the media asked Doug Peterson, so why isn't Etienne getting more involved? Why haven't you got him more involved in the offense like we all thought he would be? And Doug's response to that, well, that's on me. As the play caller, I have to call more plays for him, and we're going to figure it out. So I think there's a lot of things here. It's been the perfect storm for Etienne to really, like, James Robinson looked good in week 1. It's been the perfect storm for people to be upset about Etienne. I understand. Last thing I'll say is, keep in mind, this is Travis Etienne's rookie year. Okay? This is his rookie year. This happens with running backs with their first couple games in the NFL. Could we have already seen the takeover? Maybe. I don't know. And I can't promise you in games where they're in positive game scripts that James Robinson won't dominate. But I just don't believe that that's going to be the case for this Jags team. So what are my expectations for Etienne rest of season? I see him as a top 25 running back in 2022 still. I still think he can reach that sort of goal. I look at ECR. I'll take Travis Etienne over Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, Khalil Herbert, Michael Carter, Tony Pollard, Gibson, Tyler Algier, Juju, DJ Moore, which I think DJ Moore could be a really, really good trade piece there. Brandon Ayuk, Brian Robinson. So give me Etienne over every single one of those names that I just listed. And again, I wanted to bring this as a last thing because there's no analytics to it. But purely the eye test, I would encourage you to go watch these games. And you tell me who you think the more explosive running back is, the person who per touch puts this team in a better position. You let me know. Since week 1, James Robinson's numbers have gone down, and been less efficient every single week. Right. I can't help but feel like we could see a changeover, and Etienne's a very good buy low right now.
Yeah, interesting. Let's see what happens. Etienne, James Robinson has been back and forth with both of these guys, so yeah, let's see what happens in the next couple weeks. Mm-hmm. My next trade for target, yes, again, Brian Robinson, again. This is a guy that I love. I think the story is fantastic. I mean, it's terrible, but at the same time, it's great. The comeback and the ability that what he can do, and what we saw in preseason and what I think he can still be. Okay, I think it's amazing that the guy comes out to many men. I don't know if that's true, but he comes out of the tunnel to
Yeah,
many
it was a cool
men.
hype story.
I thought it was crazy, but it's pretty straightforward and straight to the point, right? Week 5, we saw and we knew that he was limited in snaps, and he had 20 snaps in the game, and I thought that was pretty significant to understand before coming in because he only had 9 carries for 22 yards, 2.2 fantasy points. I think what's interesting is that he has already outsnapped or had more carries on the ground than Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissic. I think that is a fun fact. Number 2, that was probably based off game script as well. You know, the Titans were really aggressive trying to eliminate the run. But every time I saw Brian Robinson, on the field, I liked what he did. There was this one run that he had on the outside. He got a little extra yardage. It was called back for a flag. Little things like that. And then he had a good couple runs for, 4 to 5 yards. It was efficient. This is what Ron Rivera wants. This is what he wanted in preseason. This is what he was hoping for. And Zach said to himself during the preseason, saying he wants a north and south runner. He just wants a guy that can run in the middle of the tackles and get those extra 4 yards, where they didn't have that with Gibson. They didn't have that with JD. And I agree with Zach. This is a 3-headed monster. Do I want any part to play in this? I do. I want James Robinson. Or Brian Robinson. We were just talking about Travis Etienne and James Robinson. I want Brian Robinson, right? Give me Brian Robinson every single time. And I think he is just getting started. And this may not be the right opportunity. This may be the right opportunity to go out and get him now before he really does take off. He is playing the Bears, who give the 9th most fantasy points to the running back position on Thursday night. Is he the question? I know everyone's saying, well, what's the workload going to look like? Is he automatically going to come in and get as many snaps as possible? Is he still going to be limited in his week 2 and week 6, right? Or what's the outcome? At the moment, we don't know. But all I know is it's going to progress and progress and progress every week. And is he a startable asset for you right now? Probably not. You probably play him in a desperation play. I mean, I have a couple scenarios that I might play him and based off what I believe, right? But I think I believe, and I'm not saying you have to. I'm saying I believe that Brian Robinson is the guy moving forward. And the way they wanted to use Antonio Gibson is in the passing game or in the punt return or in the kickoff return. And do we see that flip immediately? I don't know. Maybe it does happen. Maybe it doesn't happen. If honestly, really, Zach can probably tell us more about that because that's his team. He watches them week in and week out. And I went to go rewatch the game, and they were down, and they used Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissic. But Brian Robinson on the ground got the majority of the snaps. And once again, does that change? I'm not sure. They do play the Bears once again on Thursday Night Football. I would trade all the following players to get Brian Robinson right now: Tyler Algier, Cam Akers, Michael Carter, Raheem Mostert, Melvin Gordon, DJ Moore, Juju Smith. This is how I believe he's going to take the next step, right? Guys like Juju Smith, who just had about 8 points, been averaging 8 points. I think he can do that. I think he can do significantly better than that. Melvin Gordon has come in 10 points this past week. He can do better than 10 points, in my opinion, Brian Robinson. So, guys, if you can get him now, you might have another weekend of opportunity if the report does come out saying he's only going to be limited again, but then we're going to ramp him up in week 7. Then that would be a good opportunity. So get Brian Robinson if you can.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. I mean, you opened the floor. You said, maybe Zach can say. I mean, my thoughts have kind of been the same since day one.
I guess
people have heard me say it before, but it's a 3-way, and it's not the kind of 3-way I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
Especially not in the team that I unfortunately have to support. But you're right. They could ramp it up. And I agree with everyone that you said as far as to trade them away, except for Melvin. I'll still take Melvin just because I feel like that workload's safe.
That's fair.
All right. I'll give you my last trade for. And just because it's obvious doesn't mean it's wrong, but stay with me for a second. Jonathan Taylor.
JT, baby, come on.
Let's talk about this buy low window. Drafted as the running back 1, as the 101, and is currently the running back 22. He's probably actually much worse than that now at the time of recording this. In 2 of 4 games, he has scored under 7.5 fantasy points. He's dealing with an ankle injury. I mean, again, just because it's obvious doesn't mean it's wrong. I think this is a huge buy low opportunity for one of the best running backs in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
At times, there are rare opportunities to buy low on superstars like this. Walk with me for a sec. The in-season redraft fantasy football community reminds me of a quote or saying from one of my all-time favorite TV shows, which is Survivor. If you've never seen Survivor, then I mean, watch Survivor. It's incredible. It's literally one of my favorite shows ever. But a quote from that show, which is used quite often, is perception is reality. And in fantasy football, you might be watching and you might be one of those few people who don't do this. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. That's the right thing to do. But in fantasy football, for a lot of people, every week is a new reality for them. Every week is a new reality. What we try to do here, or every couple weeks is a new reality. What we try to do here is follow the right trends, metrics, analytics to find cracks in the market for you guys. Example, Justin Jefferson. In week 1, everyone's like, holy shit, Justin Jefferson is goated. 40 points, I made the right decision. Week 2, people are like, okay. Jefferson wasn't good this week, only 10 points. That's okay. Week 3, okay, what the hell is going on? Justin Jefferson gave me 4 points. I can't rely on this guy.
Yeah.
I brought Justin Jefferson as a buy low after week 3. Okay. And I was shocked by the amount of people in the comments who were disagreeing or saying they were selling Justin Jefferson because of these couple weeks. I fully was prepared for people to say in the comments, that's so obvious. Of course. No, people were genuinely saying, I sold him. I can't deal with the boom bust. Jefferson's good. He's not elite. Yeah. He got found out that, like, there were so many people on even Twitter sphere or Discord who were like, no, like, I can't trust this Justin Jefferson guy. Another example, last week, I told you guys to buy Dalvin Cook.
A bit of Dalvin.
A player who had all the right opportunities and metrics and had a great matchup upcoming. But people were still willing to sell him. Okay, so point being, just because you, watching, won't sell Jonathan Taylor low or don't believe he should be sold low by others,
right,
does not mean your perception is other people's realities. Okay? Other people's realities could be the fact that they haven't had Jonathan Taylor last week. And in the 2 other weeks, he scored under 7.5 points. He's dealing with an ankle injury.
Yeah.
He's not even a top 24 running back, and I drafted him 101. Your reality might not be the same for everyone else.
Yeah.
It's worth exploring. Secondly, he is absolutely, unquestionably still the focal point of this offense. Let's look at JT's averages from 2021 to 2022. And keep in mind, in 2021, the RB1 on the year. In 22, snap percentages are up almost 10%. Rushing attempts are up. Targets per game are up. Touches per game are up. He's still the focal point of this offense. Right. Upcoming schedule is pretty juicy. Jacksonville next week. And they just gave up 99 yards and a touchdown to Dameon Pierce. Then versus Tennessee, which I will give you as a tough matchup.
Yeah. But
then you get to face the trash can of the NFL in Washington, who just gave up 102 yards and 2 touchdowns to Derrick Henry. So it's a pretty good couple matchups that are about to come up.
2 divisional games, by the way.
Yeah, and again, because it might be obvious to you, doesn't mean that the person in your league who owns Jonathan Taylor is sitting there and really happy. I mean, when you own the player, you feel that pressure differently. I think there's a chance to get in here and buy low on him. And, of course, the question is, well, okay, who do you want him over? Well, Jonathan Taylor, I'll make this easy for you. Give me Jonathan Taylor over any running back not named Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
Give me Jonathan Taylor over any wide receiver not named Cooper Kupp or Justin Jefferson.
Right.
Okay? Might have to be a package deal, but that is the end of the list. That's it. That's where the list ends.
That's fair.
Jonathan Taylor is going to be better. He's going to recover. Let's see if he plays this week or not. If he doesn't, even better buy low next week. Okay? Even better buy low if he misses this week.
Yeah.
Play it by ear, but again, because it's obvious doesn't mean it's wrong. Hopefully you guys get where I'm coming from. It happens everywhere. Perception is people's reality, and I'm trying to help you take advantage of that. So that's my last buy low.
And my last trade for target is Miles Sanders.
Come on.
Give it to
Sanders.
Miles. He is our RB1. Okay? I don't know if you guys saw the Pat McAfee when they interviewed Nick Sirianni, and they had I forgot the dude's name, but he was coach. He was like, hey, coach, I'm a coach. You know, like, it was actually so funny. Hilarious.
Yeah.
A bad day in the office. That's all it was. It was a bad day in the office.
Miles,
Week 5 versus the Arizona Cardinals. It was a good defense, a middle of the pack defense. Not middle of the pack. They gave it the 11th least points to the running back position. 15 carries, 58 yards, 8.4 fantasy points. Just wasn't his day. It wasn't his day. But this could be a great buy low opportunity, not only for this week, but in the next 2 weeks, right? Because let me tell you who they're playing. Week 6, they play the Dallas Cowboys, who currently give up the 5th least amount of points to the running back position. Let's be honest. Their defense is nasty. Okay? Yeah. It is. You got to give it up to the Cowgirls. They doing their thing, right? You go to week 7. It's a bye week. And just like my other buy low scenario of DeAndre Swift, you want to take advantage of these scenarios. Hopefully somebody has Miles Sanders and they're not winning right now. They need a running back in week 7. Or they're looking at their matchup next week and saying, dang, the Dallas Cowboys are stopping everyone in their path right now, and I need a running back that is going to give me those guaranteed high points. Maybe you can trade for Miles Sanders right now, right? I can show you the little graphic. I'll show you the graphic. Hopefully we can pop it up on the screen. You can see each week he is progressing week in and week out. The snaps on the field, week 1, 52, week 3, 50, 53, 59, 67, 74. He's getting more and more opportunities on the field. Is he scoring crazy amount of fantasy points? No. And that's not what we were expecting. But what we are seeing from this offense is saying, you know what, Miles Sanders could be a good low-end RB2 that I could be starting week in and week out if I need something. And with the opportunity now, with him scoring only 8 fantasy points in week 5 and then playing the Cowboys and have a bye week, there could be a 2-week window for you. So I want to get you guys in early. People that are 5-0. 4-1, and you need that extra piece, and you want that extra guy that maybe you have a Dalvin, or maybe you have a Derrick Henry's down the bye. Maybe you have a Saquon coming up on a bye in week 7 or week 8, and you need that person to turn it around for you. This could be Miles Sanders, right? So I'll keep it simple, guys. Players I would trade for Miles Sanders: Najee Harris, maybe in the package. Give me a package: Kareem Hunt, Jeff Wilson, James Conner. And then you get a little bit shaky with the wide receivers, but I think I would do this in a package. Deontay Johnson or Terry McLaurin for Miles Sanders right now. The way that Miles is playing, this Eagles team is playing, I think I want the opportunity to have it, especially with how the running back position, they dropping like flies. Yeah, you need some running back, and you need some running back depth now. So if you can get Miles Sanders for a team that is struggling at the wide receiver position, or vice versa, like Najee, I think we can all agree that Najee has been struggling right now, and I don't want him. And just for namesake, you can package him, or you can get more value back just because of the namesake. So I will be trying to get Miles Sanders right now. And once again, this could be a 2-week window for you. Try and get him.
Yeah, I love Miles Sanders. One of my most proud buys in Dynasty in the offseason. We do a buy or sell in our offseason for Dynasty. And I remember researching his analytics in the offseason and just looking at how truly efficient he was all last year. And it's awesome to see him succeeding, and I like this take. Yeah. All right, we're going to give you 2 tradeaways. And I'm going to bring a player that's polarizing. Probably one of the most polarizing players in fantasy football this offseason. Okay. People were on either side. They were in or they were out. And that's very much been how his play has been. Either he's in or he's out and he screwed you. That is Gabe Davis.
Brother Gabe.
There is a sell high window because he was the wide receiver 1 on the week. Okay? The wide receiver 1 on the week. The 5th highest scoring player overall, I believe, at the time that we recorded this. So I'm trading him away because of what I've said all offseason and pretty much all season so far is he is the definition of boom bust. Boom bust defined. Look it up. Gabe Davis will be the photo that you'll find. In week 1, he boomed with 18.8 points. In week 2, he was out with an ankle injury, a little ouchie. Okay, in week 3, bust under 7 points. In week 4, bust under 2. I mean, he had 2.3 points that week. In week 5, he booms. This is how it's going to be all week or all year. If you look at his bust game averages in games that he's busted, he is averaging 2 receptions for 25 yards. If you look at his boom game averages, when you've wanted to start him, he is averaging 3.5 receptions for 129 yards and 1.5 touchdowns. You tell me if that looks like something that's reliable. The unfortunate part for Gabe Davis is the targets aren't there. Like the consistency that you're looking for might not ever come unless that target share ever takes a turn. I mean, the guy scored 32 points on 3 receptions this week. You're going to bench him one week and he's going to go off. You're going to start him next week and McKenzie's going to be the guy. Diggs is going to be the guy. He'll have 6 points. And this isn't someone that I like to build my rosters around. I would much rather look for more consistent players to build around. And, we might be different. That's fine. Second thing I want to talk about is Sunday's game was kind of a perfect storm for Gabe Davis. Firstly, a lot of inactive players, and the matchup was incredible for Gabe Davis. We're going to get into that. Mm-hmm. I don't want to take anything away from Gabe Davis. So, keep that in mind. Like, he did what he was supposed to. But I think there are reasons why he had a good game. Firstly, the matchup. The Pittsburgh Steelers. While Washington might be the trash can of the NFL, Pittsburgh's defense is the doormat of the NFL right now, okay? They're truly horrendous defending against fantasy wide receivers. They give up the most points to wide receivers in the NFL. There's not a better matchup of any team for fantasy wide receivers. Check this out. I'll show you every week. We've had almost a wide receiver 1 every single week. In week 1, Jamar Chase was the wide receiver 4. In week 2, Nelson Aguilar was the wide receiver 11. In week 3, Amari Cooper, the wide receiver 7. In week 4, Corey Davis was a wide receiver 15. And this week, Gabe Davis was the wide receiver 1. This was the ideal matchup for Gabe Davis to boom. And keeping in mind that a lot of players were ruled out, okay? Jake Kumaro, who's not that big of a part of the offense, but also Isaiah McKenzie was gone. Jamison Crowder was gone because of that. He went to the IR. Dawson Knox didn't play that game. So there was 11.1 targets per game vacated. Again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be impressed with what he did. I just don't value him the same way that some other people in the community do.
Right.
I would much rather have, more consistency in my wide receiver room than someone that's going to boom or bust like that. And, in best ball, different scenario, but I got to make my decisions every week. And I don't want that kind of, pressure on a weekly basis. And just side note, by the way, I think McKenzie, I'm not saying McKenzie's more valuable, but I think he is a better buy low right now if you're looking to buy a Bills wide receiver. I mean, fully going to fill that slot role full time now without Jamison Crowder. He could be a very sneaky buy low right now. Again, Gabe Davis more valuable, but I'm just saying between the two if you're going to buy them. All right, so give me the following players over Gabe Davis. Again, start conversations. It's not a perfect science. D-Hop. I loved that I was able to bring D-Hop today. That is perfect to me. If you can give me DeAndre Hopkins, I will take that and run. Keenan Allen, out of sight, out of mind. Give me Keenan Allen. Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper, Christian Kirk, who's had a couple down weeks. Olave, assuming that he's not going to be out multiple weeks. Drizzy Drake, London, Michael Pittman, who I think is also a good buy low. So I'm selling Gabe Davis high. Could I regret it? Sure. I'd be happy to hold my hands up and say I'm wrong if I was. But I think he's a good buy low. Sell high right now, Gabe Davis.
Yeah, could be interesting. The boom or bust. Let's see. I was on the opposite side. I still believe in Gabe Davis. Always said that he won't get a lot of targets, but could get the touchdowns. And it's crazy. Wide receiver 1, 30-something points. He had nearly 200 yards with three passes is ridiculous.
I know.
I just remember watching that game. My trade away player is Raheem Mostert. Raheem the Dream. Sell the dream. It's not real. It's a dream. Finished the top 15 running back this past week. It's just not something that's going to happen every week, in my opinion. And I know there could be a conversation and a narrative where, well, what's going to happen with Tua? Well, what's going to happen with Teddy? Skylar Thompson could be starting in week 6. That is true. And maybe you could have 2 weeks where there is an opportunity where you can sell Raheem Mostert. And Raheem may not be the sexiest guy that you can get other people in return. But if you can package or do something, maybe there is an opportunity. In week 4, over 10 fantasy points, 15 carries for 69 yards. That's okay. Week 5 against the Jets, 69% of snaps, 18 carries, over 113 yards, and a touchdown. And I really believe that was because Teddy Bridgewater was off. He got injured literally one of the first drives of this game, and Raheem was there. And I'm still surprised that Chase is not getting the work. I don't believe his workload is something that's going to be sustainable for your fantasy team. Somebody that you can start week in and week out, even in a flex position. If you can get someone a little bit more consistent, or you can get somebody like, I don't know, even a boom bust player, I think I would rather have them, because I think at any point in time, we always said is with Raheem, he can get injured at any time. His problem was that he can always get injured, and we haven't even spoken about the injury part if that does come up, right? Now we can talk about the playmakers as in the quarterback, which is Tua, Teddy, and then Skylar Thompson. Are they going to be back anytime? We don't know. So if I can trade any of these guys, if I can trade Raheem Mostert right now for any of these guys, I would. Brian Robinson, the guy I just talked about. Tony Pollard, I would rather have. DJ Moore, sounds crazy. Maybe not with PJ Walker, but if they sign a Cam Newton, whatever the case, if they just sign anyone, they get a backup quarterback from another team, and they're just going to be slinging the ball, I'll be happy with that. A DJ Moore, I said DJ Moore, maybe Alan Lazard, maybe it's a little bit too much of a stretch, but if you can do a package, something, because I would rather do that now. Once again, this could be a 2-week window because the Vikings do give up the 10th most fantasy points to the running back position. So he could go off this week, especially if Teddy and Tua are not playing. So that's my thought process. Once again, you can't get sexy players right now, but if I can get a Tony Pollard, I'm doing it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, just like you said with Gabe Davis, I'm kind of on the opposite side here. I feel like this is his backfield. I really feel like this is Raheem's backfield regardless.
Maybe.
We saw those trends in the last weeks, even with Tua. And so there is a market if you're kind of siding, because we always bring takes. We have different perspectives, but Aki might see something differently. I might see something differently. So there's definitely a market out there for Raheem Mostert. I personally am just like, man, good matchups upcoming. Yeah. I mean, getting the workload.
It's there. The opportunity
and he looks good.
I agree. It's just, if I
he's
can
someone
get somebody more.
I'm willing to move the players that you mentioned for Raheem. So there's definitely a market out there for people.
That's fair.
Depending on where they stand on it. I thought for sure that we were going to see Ken Walker as a trade for you this week.
I not that it's obvious. I think it'll be hard. Okay. I don't know if. If someone tries to say, can I get Ken Walker? And I'll be like, well, shit, I want looking at ECR right now. If we pull that up,
yeah, no one's gonna give around ECR.
No one's gonna give around ECR, and where we go, how far up do we go with Ken Walker? Do we go to the James Connors, the Ramondre Stevensons? I mean, the Montes, the Jeff Wilsons. I think I would rather have all those guys as much as I love Ken Walker.
Right.
I think that's the problem. I think it's how far up can you go, or how far down can you go to get a Ken Walker right now? I mean,
how low can you go? So
AJ Dillon or Ken Walker? How about that?
I'll do Ken. I'll take Ken.
Okay, Melvin Gordon.
It's close. Ken? I'll go Ken.
Okay.
Well, I'm thinking upside with these.
Oh,
that
sure.
Offense is not as bad as I thought it was.
No,
I think that's what's the most
I was 100% wrong on that offense.
Eye-opening.
No doubt about it.
I don't know how long this video is. I have this could be a 40-minute video. I have no idea. I hope you guys like the content. Drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe. We're so close to 3,000. If you're still here watching the video, I mean, comment and say when you subscribed, please, because I want to see if anyone is still watching this late, and I'll try and pin your comment if I see it. So. Huge love. Enjoy the rest of your week. Good luck. Comment down below respectfully if you agree or disagree. And good luck.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLand fam.